In this lesson, we'll continue working on our foot setup. Now we're ready to go in and add our connections for this foot setup to work right. So that's going to involve point constraint and a few orient constraints as well. So let's go ahead and get right to it. What we're going to want to do for this IK is to point constrain it to our reverse lock ankle bone. Okay, so that'll be controlled. Alright, this is pretty much going to be the driver until we have established a foot control. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started with this bone selected, our reverse lock ankle bone actually, and if you need to, you can get to the outliner and select it from there if you're having troubles to selecting it. But once we have that selected, remember what constraints we want to select the driver first, followed by the driven. So that's going to be our IK handle. With that now selected, we want to go to constrain, point constrain, and if you want to check out the options, they are the default options. Okay, no maintain offset, we just hit add. Great, so already when we select our reverse lock, notice it's going to be moving our foot around. Wonderful, but I just gone ahead and undid back that move. Alright, so once that has been established, now we need to make sure that our actual bone ankle, okay, the one that controls our foot verts, we need to make sure that's going to be connected as well. So we're going to need that bone point constraint as well to our reverse lock ankle bone. So again, we want to select our driver first. Okay, that's the reverse lock ankle, followed by our driven, which is we'll shift select our reverse or our bone ankle, our bone right ankle. And with that selected, we now want to go to constraint and do another point constraint. Wonderful. So now that's connected and everything. If we go ahead and select our reverse lock bone now, we can see the connections that have been made. And as we move it around, notice it's moving our feet around. Wonderful. So this is really cool. But let's go ahead and work on the rest of our connections. What we now need to do is make sure that we orient constrain. We need to work on a few orient constraints. We need to make sure that this ankle bone, okay, the bound ankle bone is going to be driven via an orient constraint by our reverse lock ball bone. So we'll select the reverse lock ball followed by our bone ankle. We'll shift select that, and then we'll go up to constrain, orient constraint, and if you check these out, I actually have just maintain offset checked on. So we'll just hit add. Great. So now what we get is if we go ahead and select our reverse lock ball, go to our rotate tool and rotate that up, notice we're going to get that ball of the foot rising. Okay, but the toe isn't established yet, so we need to work on that. So it's as simple as taking our reverse lock toe and point constraining it right to our bound ball bone. Okay, so it's as simple as that. We just go right down the chain, and let's go ahead and do another orient constraint. So now watch what happens. If we go to our reverse lock ball and roll it up, notice that ball is going to stay just where we need it to be. Wonderful. And if we hit down arrow, not down arrow, but up arrow, we want to go up in the hierarchy. And if we now move our toe, notice we're going to get a nice toe roll. And this, the joint placement is very important here. We want to make sure it's at the tip of the toe where it should roll off from, so it doesn't, so it rolls off correctly from the floor. Wonderful. So now that that has been done, what we can do from here is just take this, take our joints, okay, for the reverse lock, and make sure we mirror them over to our left side so we can set up similar connections. So with our base selected, what we'll now do is go to skeleton. We're going to go to our mirror joints and check out our options. So right now, I'll go ahead and just reset these. We want to mirror on our YZ plane, as we can see, YZ. We want to mirror across to the opposite side. We want to use behavioral. That's going to be our best option for us to get a nice mirrored effect. And for search for, we can actually, this is a really cool feature. It saves us time from naming. We'll just search for everything that has a label of R underscore, because we don't want to relabel everything that has R, okay, and we'll replace it with underscore L underscore. So now, once we hit apply, notice our joints have been mirrored right where we'd like them to be. Excellent. So all this is a matter of redoing our connections this time for the left side. So again, we know what needs to be parent constrained and point constrained. So that's going to be selecting our reverse lock ankle. There it is. And we'll want it to control via a point constraint our IK handle. So we'll go back to constrain and we'll do another point constraint. Simple as that, nothing to it. Now we want to take our bound ankle and make sure that's going to be point constrained, okay, as well to our reverse lock ankle. So we'll select the reverse lock ankle first, followed by our bound ankle, and we do another point constraint. Now we need to work on our orient constraint. So that's going to be our reverse lock ball to our ankle. So we'll get there. Where are you? Here you are. Okay, let's do that orient constraint. Great. And we'll do our final orient constraint here. So that's going to be going again from our reverse lock toe right to our bound ball joint, BN, and do the orient constraint. And then we'll go ahead and test this out. Again, we can go ahead and select our reverse lock toe. And may I have a toe roll, please? Wonderful. Okay, and then I'll hit down arrow. May I have a ball roll, please? Great. So this is working out to be really nice for us. Well, once all of these things have been established, what we're going to do is stop the lesson here, and in the next lesson we're going to get into some really fun stuff. We're going to be setting up a control, and if you notice, the feet are kind of angled at this point. Now, if you're familiar with rigging, if you try to set up a zeroed out, a clean control with an angled foot, you may have found difficulties with that, and you may have gone to a method of possibly just adding values there. Okay, well, we're going to look at a way where we can zero out our values for our control, really keep them clean, and still maintain this orientation. So we'll stop the lesson here, and in the next lesson, we'll get right to that.